Today, I want to introduce you to my little project that I've been working on. Vaccine effectivity. Let's change the title. Equations. There we go. So, not too much text, but let's read this. I want to begin this by saying I've done this before and I've made an equation before. I have lost the equations in all the iterations. I plan to recreate them. These equations are purely theoretical and should not be taken seriously. I am just doing this for fun and for a possible YouTube video. To start, let W equal worth. If W is 1, it is 1 times better to get the vaccine than to not get the vaccine. If W is 2, it is 2 times better to get the vaccine than to not get the vaccine. If W is 0.5, it is 2 times better to not get the vaccine than to get the vaccine. Basically, it is W times better to get the vaccine than to not get the vaccine. Let's begin the first iteration. So iteration 1, I have just W equals V. Very basic, very simple. V is a vaccine's effectiveness. It represents the blockage of the chance to get the disease. The chance to get the virus from exposure is 1 minus V. As V goes up, W goes up. So if the vaccine is 90% effective, that's going to be a better vaccine than a vaccine that is 40% effective, because 0.9 is going to be greater than 0.4, so W is going to go up as V goes up. They're proportional, so they're equal to each other here. Iteration 2, I decided to add in capital M. Okay, let me move my cursor out of the way so I could read this better. M is the mortality rate of the vaccine. The chance of dying from the vaccine is represented by M. As M goes down, W goes up. As M goes up, W goes down. So we divide it as they are inversely proportional. So if you had a 1 in 10 chance of dying from the vaccine, V over M would be 0.1. So that's a multiplier of 10. But if you have a chance of dying from the vaccine, let's say 100%, it's going to be V over 1, which would just give you that value. Iteration 3, we include another variable. This is where the equation starts to get better. Lowercase m is the mortality rate of the disease the vaccine protects you against. As m goes up, the worth of the vaccine goes up as the vaccine becomes more necessary to protect against the disease. So both m's kind of go together. This iteration 2 sucks. Because if you have a 100% effective vaccine, but the mortality rate of the vaccine is 1, oh hey, it's 1 times better to get the vaccine than to not get the vaccine. Well, that's not true, because you're just going to die from the vaccine because the mortality rate is 100%. So iteration 2 sucks. But iteration 3 is actually kind of decent because you have this little m here. You have that little m. Every little variable that I add, it gets better. So each iteration is better than the previous. So this iteration, we just include this little m. Let's say the disease has a 1 in 10 chance of killing you, as opposed to, let's say, 1 in 1,000. The 1 in 10 chance, the worth of the vaccine is going to be higher than the 1 in 1,000 chance, because it would be 100 times better, to be more specific. Alright, iteration 4, this is where we include some weird things, Q, E, and L. So Q is the number of times you get the vaccine in your lifetime. So a vaccine effectivity, it isn't going to last forever. Like you get the flu shot every year. Stuff like that. So these are recurrent shots. Q can be found by dividing the remaining lifespan by the vaccine effectivity time. So if E is 5 years, then L is 30 years, Q would be 6. However, if E is 40 years and L is 8 years, E is effectively 8 years. E cannot be greater than L. It doesn't make sense for E being greater than L. If you are only living 8 years and the vaccine effectivity is 40 years, it's only going to be in effect for 8 years because that's your remaining lifespan. So E cannot be greater than L, so we add that restriction into the equation. When E is less than or equal to L. If E is greater than L, then this equation does not work. And that is true for all future iterations as well. So where was I? E cannot be greater than L. E therefore undergoes the restriction E is less than or equal to L, so the real equation is W equals VME over ML when E is less than or equal to L. Okay, let's unpack this. So in this example, so let me highlight. If E is, and this is 30 years, Q would be 6. So if you get the vaccine 6 times, that's 6 chances for the vaccine to harm you and kill you. So we divide by that. The worth is divided by the number of times you have to get it. If Q is 500, well, the worth is going to be very low because it doesn't last as long. You have to get a lot of times during your remaining lifespan. Anyway, let's move on to iteration 5, which is the last iteration for this video. This equation is actually decent, and if you're considering getting a vaccine or not, I would recommend looking at this equation first and maybe doing some research, because this equation is kind of decent, because I include the new variable, C. So C is a chance that you will encounter the disease in your lifetime. If it is high, W must be high, as a vaccine has more effect on preventing it. If C is low, the vaccine is not as necessary, and thus W decreases. If you have multiple encounters with a disease, like the flu or common cold, C may be greater than 1, where 1 equals 100%. It is realistic to assume C could be something like 5 for something like the flu, because you get it multiple times. So your chance is going to be more than 100%. The chance that you will encounter the disease in your lifetime is going to be more than 100% if you get it more than 1 time. So it is realistic to assume C could be something like 5 for something like the flu. And then I did some research, and I did some number crunching. So I just Googled how many annual cases are there of the flu. And then I Googled what is the US population. And I divided the two. And then I multiplied by the average life expectancy for somebody in the United States. And I got a value of 5.762, which is actually shockingly close to my guess of 5. So that's the C value for the flu. So, well, that's one of the values done. You could do research to figure out what the other values are going to be, and you could plug it in. So I'm going to ask you, the viewers, in the comments, give me ideas of how I could expand on this equation, or draft your own equation. Just give ideas, critiques, all that stuff, criticism. And if you want me to plug in values for a certain disease, ask me to do it, and I'll probably do it. That's all I have to say. Bye. And I understand that there can be a whole bunch of other variables. There are a whole bunch of other variables like race, gender, age, family history with diseases, all kinds of things that could really determine if a vaccine is worth it or not. So if you want to determine, hey, should I get a vaccine or should I not get a vaccine? Look at the formula, but still incorporate those other variables that the equation does not incorporate. Make your own iteration of the equation. the more iterations there are, the better it will be. So, well, I don't see any easy way of incorporating something like blood type or race or family history with things. So, well, I'll try if this gets enough views, but that's all I have to say. Bye.